FOB, and this is Crash Course World History. We're back! No other era is easier to summarize than the early modern era, which is from 1450 to 1750. This is the era for the Europeans wake up, expand, and build empires. There's the British Empire, Dutch East India Trade Company, and even the Spanish Empire. They're coming to your land, taking over the world, if not now, then later. Now here's the early modern period.
Mr. B, I got a question.
Nghia, stop right there. I have a whole period to teach. But tell me what you have in mind.
In 1500, many discoveries in Europe allowed them to travel further, connecting them to any ocean trade routes as well as to the New World. There's a major increase in global interconnectedness. As these regions were privately isolated, main effect was the correction of Europe and Asia between the existing world and the Americas. They offered trade, exchange of ideas, and the formation of colonies. Some navigation inventions were astrolabe to determine latitude and use of compass to determine directions. A major development in the ships used was the triangular sail, allowing sailors to sail into the wind, encouraging voyages further and further from home. Vasco da Gama sailed around Africa into the Indian Ocean, and in 1942, Christopher Columbus discovered the Caribbean on a Spanish-funded voyage using sails.
Excellent! And did you know that the Columbus travels led to the first lasting connection between the Americas and the Eastern world?
Mr. B, I heard that the creation of stock companies made it less risky to invest in exploration and colonization for the rich people. Less risk, more people will likely invest in so exploration grew at a much faster rate. This meant more research for Europeans, who can now trade at a greater scale. Is this true?
Yes, in fact it is, as well as because of many resources in the Indian Ocean trade network were difficult to produce or could not be found in Europe. European merchants try to colonize other groups so that they can get their own resources from themselves. The Spanish found silver in Argentina as a result of their exploration, and this led to the Chinese using silver to facilitate trade in their economy and use it as their part of the currency, which turns into a global currency. Because Spain had so much silver and China had products to offer, Spain in exchange trade in some capacity occurred through a global network. Therefore, as Spain found and sold silver all through the way to China, silver facilitated a global network. And the Atlantic trading system, ran by Europeans, provided cheap labor and created new markets in the newly formed colonies of the New World. In Africa, the loss of population and slave trade stunted the long-term economic growth of African governments, and socially, racism grew as it began to see Africans as less than people as meaning justified enslaving them.
Speaking of overseas travels, during colonial exchange, many invasive species and plants and animals came to the New World, and as a result, took out many native species because in the New World they had no natural predators. Also, many diseases which Native Americans were not immune to, the Europeans ended up bringing over. As a result, many Native Americans died. The Americans spread syphilis to Europeans.
Yes, and as for religion, the Europeans came to America with three intentions: gold, God, and glory. The Europeans spread Christianity to Native Americans and they did not adapt Native American beliefs. The Columbian Exchange's main effect of the spread of religion was that it brought Christianity to the New World. For other religions, Buddhism did not spread much after the Silk Road era, and Islam continued to spread to parts of the world. But its main expansion occurred during the post-classical era. Okay, Nghia, any more facts you want to squeeze in before I wrap up here?
Ours failed well and continued in the present times.
Alright,
let me tell you guys. That's enough talking for you. It's my turn. Get out of the chair. Okay, let me tell you guys about the new forms of social organization and modes of production. Before 1492, there was little contact between the New World, Eurasia, and Africa. Once Columbus got to North and South America, the trading of crops, slaves, and diseases, and so much other things that I can't even begin to explain, known as the Columbian Exchange, started. Agriculture was used to exploit the weaker nations. Imperialism picked up speed since there was a growing need for labor. Europe began to exploit what they thought as the inferior race. Forced labor included natives and African Americans, which we all know is usually people of color being the ones having to do the work. Forced labor included, as I said again, Native Americans and African Americans. In regards to the end of industrialization, peasant and labor shifted from farms to factories. In the Americas, indentured servants began to decrease as more slaves were shipped across the Atlantic. There was a need for labor force in the New World to work the tobacco and sugar cane plantations. Also, in Europe, there was a shift in the control of peasant labor. Tighter control and less freedom for the laborers emerged. It directly benefited the merchant class due to the increase in trade. The gap between the powerful elite and the indentured servants and increased, as well as the rich became richer. The lower class did not change in economic status. Throughout all history, we know that the poor stay poor. And also, new societies and social standings developed in the Americas according to race. Native American societies withered as European elites continued to conquer their land and exploit their natural resources. At the same time, European conquest enabled new leaders to arise in the Americas, such as powerful Native Americans.
Okay,
Oh,
my turn.
what? Why?
Okay. With the state unifications and imperial expansions growing and gaining more territories, they found that keeping control from their homes was difficult, so they decided to send people over to watch them. They were there to make sure that they were keeping up with their work, and people responded in a lot of different ways. They tried rebelling, or they just accepted the new order. With the rulers using their descendants to maintain their control, it limited the chances that those in charge would go along with the rebellions. They negotiated with the people living in the territories using translators to make sure that they were able to communicate. The minorities present in the areas were Native Americans, and when they were imperialized by the Europeans, they were seen as savages, and conflict followed, obviously. In the Americas, the Africans that they began to use as slaves were exploited, inferior, and given absolutely no rights. With their people in charge, they turned to violence when faced with things like rebellions. Those with the advanced military technology faced little problems during their imperializations, and using weapons like machine guns to get control, they established their dominance. New empires basically became arenas of global trade, adding connections within empires, allowing for there to be a greater variety with things like technology, culture, religion, animal plant life, and art.
Alright, that's pretty much it. Okay, my turn now. Alright, that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it for period 4. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week. Hi, this is Bo B, and this is World. Hi, this is Bo B, and this is World History Crash Course. Crash Course World History. I got it backwards. This is the era where I suck at reading. You guys know this.